Hello everyone and welcome back to Unity of Command. This is the campaign scenario Lower Dnieper from the Red Turn DLC. August the 25th, 1943. After the success of Rumyantsev and the creation of a bridgehead across the Mayas, the Soviets intend to liberate the Donbass and create suitable conditions for an attack across the Dnieper. Right. This is the second scenario of the pair, along with Advance on Kiev, the previous one, that commenced simultaneously, so on this specific date. And I actually like this map quite a lot. What you are going to see is the first attempt. Everything turned out either as expected or better. It's a relatively easy map, relatively large as well, including or containing a lot of forces. As you can see, we outnumber the Axis forces around 2 to 1, mainly in infantry, or almost solely in infantry, by the way. But you can practically take the Axis forces head-on, so it's not a very difficult map. You get 2 air attacks per turn, and the bridging action, it's not per turn, there is a hard limit to it, but I don't remember exactly what that is. And once again, the name of the game is going to be Supply, but it's in a way that I actually like a lot. So yeah, this is a pretty enjoyable scenario. Before anything else, let's take a look at our objectives. The first one is Stalino in the extreme, or not extreme, but in the southeast. Today is Donetsk. Center of the heavily industrialized and resource-rich Donbass region, to be taken by the end of turn 2. Then, on the opposite side of the map, we have Poltava, in the northwest, the crucial road and rail hub between Kharkov and the Dnieper. Right. Apart from these 2 cities, and I think they are both city hexes, yep, we have 2 empty hexes. The first one is the Kremenchuk Bridge, as you can see it here, on the tab, in the top right. One of the few large bridges over the Dnieper in this area. And also we have the Dnepropetrovsk Bridge, also visible here. Capturing the bridge might allow us to capture Dnepropetrovsk before the Germans can reinforce the city, both to be taken by the end of turn 5. Right. None of these objectives are particularly difficult. But before anything else, let's talk about, well, not the weather, because the weather is going to be fine. It's late August, early September, so no worries about that. But the terrain. We know this area well, we've been here a billion times, but anyway, let me explain our strategy here. We are going to try to cut off supply at the bridges. So most importantly here, and in the west, and roughly cut them off around Dnepropetrovsk as well. That's not going to be that easy or that successful, but whatever. We're also going to connect us up the road, our supply line. As you can see, the supply line is extremely extensive. Actually, let's switch over to that as well right now. We have 3 supply sources, one in the southeast on the road with a range of 3. A bit to the north we have an off-road supply source with a range of 4. That's totally useless. It's only there to supply the current front line. It's not going to be it's going to be irrelevant pretty soon. And we have a final one, the main one, north of Kharkov, with a range of 6, also on the road network. And as you can see, this road network, as I've said, is pretty extensive, and it's crisscrossed, and it's interconnected and all. And for instance, there are 2 lines between Stalino and Kharkov, and one of them is mostly in our hands already. And so one of our objectives is going to be to connect up the 2 supply lines, so that all the supply line hexes have a range of 6 immediately. I highly recommend this one as well. The other thing to notice, is very important, is that the opposing forces have 1 supply source in the extreme west, also on the supply line obviously, but it has a range of 8. So what that means is that if you manage to cut them off around here and around the 2 bridges, then you can starve them out very effectively and relatively quickly. It's not a difficult feat to achieve. So you can, you cannot achieve it immediately, but what's going to happen is that more and more AI units are going to start to be starved out. Yeah, so that's the name of the game basically. we have two main thrusts of attack. One in the southeast. We are already on the western bank of the Mayas River, as stated by the text. And we have two excellent units. These are mechanized, veteran mechanized corps, each with 6+1 specialist steps. Of course, the Katyusha is excellent. The Su-76M is garbage, but it's still better than, nothing. We also have a tank division here. A lot of specialist steps on infantry units. So T-34s, another useless Su-76, and quite a few infantry guns, which are pretty good, as we know. Along the river line, we have more infantry units. Now, we know the infantry guns to be excellent. The T-34s and the KV-1s, for instance, are also great. The standard units, standard infantry divisions are pretty worthless, but we outnumber the Axis heavily. In fact, a lot of their units are only okay in their current defensive position, so they have a lot of units with 4 steps each, a lot of infantry divisions, which are dug in, and especially beyond the river or on a forest hex, they're pretty strong. Don't underestimate them. But once they have to move out, or you circumvent them, or they go on the offensive, or they do anything else, then they become pretty pathetic. So currently they're okay, but there are many options to make them turn easily totally worthless and just annihilate them. Again, on the northwest is the other front sector. We have one mechanized corps and a few tank divisions, some experience thrown about, and a few specialist steps. So roughly they are divided equally. We also have two excellent units here in the middle. Opposing us are a whole bunch of weak panzer divisions. By weak, I mean they're only veteran and they only have 4 steps each, plus specialist steps, if any, including the reserves here around Zaporozhye. A few extremely depleted Panzer Grenadier divisions, which are actually mechanized or motorized rather, so they're only Panzer Grenadiers in name. And in the front line, the west, we have the units we know all too well, some Panzer Grenadier divisions, but this time it's not the first 3, it's rather the second one, Das Reich. The third one, Totenkopf with the Nashorn. That's actually an excellent unit, don't underestimate this one. The fifth one, Viking, which in this case is actually a Panzer Grenadier division, a proper unit. And of course the Großdeutschland. Now they're only veteran, and of course they're still pretty strong, but with 4 steps each, they're not that powerful. We can actually plow through them, as you're gonna see. So I've already explained the strategy. We're going to rush straight for Stalino, but already immediately we're going to try 2 further things. One, to slowly crawl our way back up north and connect the supply lines. And also to rush ahead to the west, towards the west, to cut off the enemy supplies here. That's going to be the task of the southwestern thrust of attack. Southeastern, apologies. In the northwest, we are going to fight a straightforward battle head on, so we are going to choose battles that are favorable for us, and since we outnumber the opposing forces, sooner or later they're just basically going to melt away, and so it's going to be a war of attrition here, a meat grinder, but we are very heavily favored. Alright, let's see how it went. So we started at the southeast, we overrun, capture occupy some zones of control, overrun again and breach, and after some more shooting, we can now remove the first units of the map immediately. So far we have suffered no casualties whatsoever. We don't attack the city yet. This is a relatively strong unit, and our mechanized corps is already down 1 suppression because of the overrun. So let's destroy this motorized unit instead. This is not going to cause any problems. Still no losses so far from our side. After a bit of reshuffling, we isolate this unit. This is on our side of the river, so it theoretically is a threat to our supply source. This way it isn't. It's definitely not going to get through this infantry gun. And yeah, and actually already at this moment it's out of supply, so the AI is going to try to withdraw it, and that's what I was talking about. Dug in this unit is pretty decent. That's why I brought the gun here, so in case it remains here, then we can just, you know, unentrench it, dig it out from there, breach it, and then hopefully remove it. But the AI is actually going to withdraw it across the river and try to move it westwards slowly, march it westwards, which is quite brave if you think about it, but it's not going to be very successful. Once out on the open steppes, then it's going to be pretty worthless, and we'll just hunt it down. Anyway, still no losses on our side, and we have removed a few units already. We incur our first losses, not that it matters. Maybe I should have attacked with the gun first, but who cares? And yeah, and we are straightening out our front line. The only idea here was that it was kind of crooked with these units standing on our backs, so to speak. And yep, and at this moment we can also propel ahead. This is more, I mean, this move was not that important. The idea is to spook the AI to make it try to counteract this breach or this you know, this blitzkrieg strategy that we are not going to pursue per se, but that the AI doesn't know that, obviously. And as of this moment, everything is in supply, even though our supply range is pretty pathetic, so that's fine. And that's it for the west. Sorry, for the eastern front. I don't know why I keep calling it the western. So the southeastern front. That's as far as we get. There is the river here, so everything is fine. We are not in danger, and yeah, we're just okay. Now in the north, let's break through. That is not going to be a problem. Yep. And actually, the SS Panzergrenadiers are so pathetic that we can attack them with infantry guns. Of course, we suffer casualties. That's only to be expected, but not this time, by the way. And they still, okay, we breach them, we unearth them, and that's actually excellent. It means that we are using only our infantry units to cause relatively grievous casualties to the AI's forces. I mean, these units are nothing to scoff at. I mean, I know the Marder Dry is not the best specialist step in existence, but you know, it's still something. I mean, it's better than the average worthless infantry division they have here. So if these cannot stop even our standard units, then you know that we are well taken care of. This was pretty underwhelming and far worse than what the prediction was, but I'm still quite adamant in trying to advance. And once again, this is a war of attrition. The only idea here, and literally the only idea here, is to make favorable trades. Infantry-wise, a one-on-one loss is excellent, so that's okay because we outnumber them infantry-wise 2-1. But we want to try to make sure that our tank units, our armored units remain intact because they are actually pretty good. Now, one thing to note is to always ensure that this supply line is intact. Of course, these units depend on it, but more importantly, this is quite vulnerable. It's a long and crooked road, and the AI can simply move one unit across the river if you neglect to keep a cohesive front line there, and then they're just going to cut you off. And then I'm not saying it's horribly difficult to remove them, but it's easier to just keep them at bay and better. All right, we keep attacking. Even that was great if you look at it. This unit is nothing special. I mean, the specialist step is the worst we have on the map, and it went up against the Großdeutschland Panzergrenadier division, which was entrenched. Yes, very much weakened, and we suffered 1 casualty. They suffered 2 suppressed, which means that they can be removed by literally anything, because then it's absolutely nothing. We give up this northwestern nook of the map because it's totally worthless. Destroy 1 SS Panzergrenadier division, and we have so many units we don't even know where to put them. And here is something. I don't know what the scenario designer intended with these 2 units here that were in the middle. Maybe he wanted us to cut through here, you know, to initiate an open battle. This unit is not entrenched, and to connect up the road hexes. But I opted not to do that. the AI has a lot of armored units, had a lot of relatively decent units in the west, and I was thinking that these tank divisions, this tank and this mechanized division, will be excellent at duking it out at the war of attrition, and so I moved them west actually. Alright, that's it. The AI's first turn, obviously it occupies all the hexes, victory hexes that are empty, the two that were empty. It creates a cohesive front line, which is fine, bunches up in our face. I actually like it. I was pretty happy that this happened, because if we can break through and remove most of these units, then each turn its situation will be far worse. And I'm not afraid that it will attack like our best units, and if they attack some of these infantry guns, then I'm not going to bother by it. We actually managed to destroy a lot of steps the previous turn without suffering almost any casualties at all, very minimal casualties. So that's fine. This unit is cut off. That doesn't matter really. We can very easily connect it back up. This unit is not going to survive the next turn. And this unit has retreated as I prophesied. So yeah, there is an attack in the northwest. Another attack. We suffer casualties, but this is actually fine. It's not. That one was okay as well against the last one. This is all acceptable. That's the word. So I'm not happy about it, but what can you do? The AI has partially retreated. Interestingly, it also opened up the road for some reason, which is excellent, which means we can occupy it, and as long as we have enough forces to occupy literally every hex, and up until the road, and we must capture this victory hex this turn. So if we can just remove these three units, this one is pathetic, but these two stronger units, then we can we can connect up the road, and that would be great. And by the way, I don't think we have 2 air attacks per turn. There is an overall limit to it, so a hard limit to it, hard cap. But I use the air attack anyway. This was actually excellent, 2 suppression. Further 2 suppressions. This was pretty painful, but at the very least, we are going to be able to remove this unit off the map. This is totally pathetic. The weak, not very weak, but a standard infantry unit can remove it. We captured the victory hex, and at this moment I'm quite certain that nothing can recapture it. This unit definitely won't be able to. This unit is also with standard experience. I don't think it will, and it has achieved or gained enough experience so that I can give it 1 step that we received as reinforcement, which means that it will still remain veteran, which is the key. I don't think I could have given it this unit as well, but I wanted to buff up this one. This is going to be an excellent asset in the future. We boxed this unit in. It could theoretically march back across the river, but then we will just march back as well, so we don't care. There is nowhere that it can go here, and next turn it's going to be even more depleted. So this tank could have fought its way out, but instead I opted to cut off the enemy supply here, so that it runs from this point and in a very crooked way. These easternmost units should start to run out of supply, which is exactly what we want. Alright. And yeah, once we isolate them, then they're definitely going to. Once again, the key here is to not let any hex or unoccupied where the AI can move in, or else they will capture it. And as of this moment, not everything is connected, but our tank is theoretically in supply. I think it's going to be cut off again. There is this 1 hex remaining, but that unit is definitely cut off because there is a river here, so the supply definitely doesn't reach these units as well, so they must retreat or fight their way back to supply. Alright, in the northwest, reinforcements are pouring in, which is excellent. And yep, another air attack, this time against the Totenkopf. This was excellent. 3 suppression is the best we can hope for, and now this unit is totally dead, and the infantry unit can remove it, overrun it even. I don't know what this infantry unit was hoping to achieve, but it definitely didn't achieve it. And yeah, it's another kind of breakthrough. We could now box some units in, isolate them or whatever, but I don't go for it. I mean, there is no need really, we can just mop them off the map, and since we outnumber them, I know that on their turn they are going to cause us some casualties, but you know, slowly and surely this is gonna get worse and worse by by the moment. This move at this moment has not achieved really anything. I think at this moment everything is in supply because of the supply line network. But in the next turn, if everything goes well and we can capture this hex here and this hex, and somehow, you know, cut them off here a bit, then everything is actually be out of supply, which is exactly what we want. So we are threatening, and there is not much the AI can do. They don't have enough units to counteract this. This was unfortunate that we lost our our specialist step, but at the very least this unit is kind of, you know, destroyed. Now it is effectively destroyed, totally destroyed. Alright, we remove stragglers. And yeah, so any kind of favorable trade is excellent since we outnumber the enemy forces. And yeah, we have so many units that we don't even know what to do within the north, at least northwest. As you can see, slowly they are going to start to collapse, and interestingly these units stayed in supply, huh? Yeah, I guess supply is strong enough to reach here, apart from this one infantry division, which will have to step back. Of course, the isolated units are starting to run out. They don't forget that they are either in forests or in high ground, as this one, and they're all entrenched. So don't attack them head on. Let them starve out of supply, and then you can just remove them. But the next turn is going to be quite crucial and quite interesting, I would say. The AI is once again moving to block our progress, but that's not going to work out well for it, or successfully, I don't think, at least. This unit got cut off again, so it won't be able to attack the next turn, which is unfortunate. And yeah, and already on turn 2 the AI is defending here, at the very western edge of the battlefield, so to speak. Alright. Oh, and it also received some reinforcements in the form of steps. Alright, turn 3 for the AI, sorry, no, turn 3 for us, rather. As you can see, the eastern front has basically crumbled. We can advance. I don't foresee any real threat or any strong resistance. The northwestern front is crumbling, rather, but we are outnumbering the Axis so heavily that we, you know, and we have the time. This victory X is due next turn. So yeah, we have the time for it. So let's see how we go. We bomb it anyway because this is our next target, and this was actually pretty good. 2 suppression, further 2 suppression. That was also excellent. And another fine. Oh no, sorry, it was repulsed. That was not great. But 1 final suppression, even though it was repulsed again. And what that means is that if we can cut this unit off, which is going to be very easy, we just have to move this unit 1 hex north. Then it won't be able to resupply, so even if we don't remove it this turn, we don't have to, then the next turn it will be just as weak as it is now. Let's remove the motorized division, not a threat. And yeah, okay, this way is also great to cut them off. Let's remove the final SS unit of the map. And there was a reason we moved here, absolutely. This way the supply coming from here has to go all the way around here, and these are swamp hexes, so I'm pretty sure at this moment it reaches nothing. So we have cut off this supply line perfectly, 100%. Now let's see what else we can do. Let's remove this straggler. It's not going to be a very heroic achievement. It isn't. The idea is to try to destroy this tank unit, and yeah, that doesn't go perfectly at first. Of course, we overrun it now, but it's not great. And this was the other key move. I know we have wasted 2 good units on this move, but in exchange, we managed to come here and cut off the road here as well. So what that means is that the only supply that is reasonably, that is reliable for the AI is coming through here, from the Dnieper bridge around Dnipropetrovsk. It's not going to reach anything practically. Well, it might reach these infantry units, by the way, but nothing really in the east. And if we can just move just a bit ahead and cut it off here as well, then everything will be starved out already on turn 3, which is excellent. Now I try to remove this unit, but I give up on the idea because I realized that it would be costly. And this tank unit now doesn't need to advance any further, so let's withdraw it back to supply. And this is kind of in a bad position, threatening to cut us off, so I'm really trying to remove it, but it's fighting quite well, unfortunately. At the very least, we have managed to create a conga line of units, so that hopefully this tank is going to remain in supply, unless this unit of ours gets destroyed by enemy counterattacks and cut off again. Alright, so we are just attacking the weaker units, and don't forget that for instance this is the best infantry unit the enemy has, at least here, at the very least, I think all over the map. And this won't be able to attack because it's gonna be going to have been out of supply for 2 turns. In the north, let's proceed with our attack, frontal attack. Once again, we are strong enough to do that. I don't care about such losses, as I've said. We are still actually pretty well on track. And yeah, this is only due next turn, so we just attack it for fun anyway. Yeah. After removing more units, these units are now cut off, so they're not going to be reinforced, which is important for these specialist these suppressed steps. Yep, but instead we're just going to destroy this unit completely, so that's not going to matter. Alright, I also want to destroy this one as well, so we have another road connection and nothing else here remaining. I know the AI has some strong units left on the battlefield, like this Panzer Division for instance, but they are simply not going to stop the swarming of our units. And I realized that the enemy is not going to be able to counterattack at all, because these units won't be able to launch any offensive, so we can sacrifice the unit, and that was actually worth it. This unit is not going to get back in supply, so we can sacrifice our units on the altar of speed, and yeah, and just proceed in general. Actually, it took me some time to calculate that I have enough units to cover all the hexes that could be, captured by the AI, but this is great. Our supply situation is powerful, so we have a range of 6 almost everywhere, so that's great. And yeah, so all looks well. Already on turn 3, I don't doubt that we are going to win this scenario with a brilliant victory. I removed that tank because I was afraid, actually that was a calculated move, I was afraid that it would be attacked by one of these 2 Panzer divisions, and I didn't want to give the enemy any trophies. I could have withdrawn it, but instead I reorganized it so we can use its steps later. Alright, now turn 3 for the AI. These 2 units are in supply, and this one. Everything else is out of supply, and these have been running dry for a while now, so they are unable to act. So I'm pretty sure that on the next turn 4 already, we can starve out most of them. This was actually a very lucky move. I didn't expect the AI to do this, but it totally misunderstood our intentions and thought that this unit is here to rush up ahead the supply line and cut it off. And you know what? If it hadn't blocked us, maybe I would have done that. I would have cut off the AI supply closer to its source. This way we won't do that. It's not going to attack across the river, so we are just facing each other but not doing anything, which is fine. It gives us more freedom of operation, as this is the best unit that the AI has, I think, on the map, and it's been removed into a totally worthless position. So that's excellent. This unit is linked up, probably going to try to escape, and as you see, the AI is actually trying to run away. I don't think this tank has been cut off, so we are okay. The AI is trying to run back to supply as far as it can, but we know that it's not going to work out, right? So it needs to get somewhere near this bridge, but we can very easily cut them off this turn here on turn 4, and then they're all just doomed. Unfortunately, due to the bad weather which arrived, which is pretty unlucky, I guess, these units have been out of supply. This is totally out of supply. It's not in any danger because nothing is going to be able to attack it, but it's still annoying. So we have to capture this on this turn, this victory hex, which is not a difficult feat. And I also want to break through as soon as we can. so that we have to capture the bridges the next turn, so anything we can do to threaten is, you know, is a good thing. And so we actually decide to do that. Bang. But we also begin to reallocate forces here to our final objective. And don't forget that with this move specifically, we have doomed all of these units. So the only 3 units of the AI that are currently in supply are these 3. Nothing else is going to be in supply, so that's perfectly fine. And we just need to, you know, as always, the name of the game is to hurry a bit because we have tight deadlines. I want to remove this Panzer division, which is a formidable opponent, but I want to remove it so that the AI has only 1 unit that can attack this pathetic infantry division. I'm not scared of this one, and it cannot move far, otherwise that tank could have chosen its target. And at this moment, I've reached both victory hexes. And I was thinking which one I should attack. They're both clear hexes, by the way. And I thought I'd try my luck with an air assault on this one, see how well it goes, and it went excellently, so we need to capitalize on this, and we totally do. And believe it or not, already on turn 4, we not only capture the victory hex with this move, but also capture the only supply source the AI has, so at this very moment we know that they are not going to be resupplied. This unit is not going to leave the victory X, so this is inconsequential, and this one cannot reach back, so even if it starts to come to withdraw, that's fine, I guess. We'll be able to duke it out with it, so deal with it here. The only thing we need to worry about next turn is to capture this one, victory X. That is our sole goal, so let's try to achieve something already on this turn. This was not excellent, but whatever. Yep. And in the east we don't really have any like true objectives, so I decided to remove these units. I could have waited another turn, but these infantry divisions on our side can't be used for anything really, so they're just, you know, staying here worthless. So instead let's remove these AI controlled units, and then then we can just march on westwards. This one is going to be a bit costly, but we really don't care. As long as we have any units that can finish off this assault, and we do, we're done. Alright, so the front line has been cleared out. These units are totally inconsequential, and yeah. And actually this was the best unit I could give the Katyusha to, which is pretty pathetic, but I needed to give it on this turn because next turn is the final, and we need to win on next turn. Alright. We try to crawl our way back to supply. Unfortunately, this is at least in the west, it's not connected up, but it's not a tragedy. It's just, you know, I would have liked a connection here and some good supply situation, but that's not the case. And you know, any suppression damage we cause, or any kind of damage we cause, is permanent. The AI cannot reinforce, and they cannot the suppression is not going to turn back into active either, so that's also good. And we even withdraw with the tank. That was also a calculated move. We don't need it here. Let's withdraw it back to supply so we can use it the next turn. Since we have captured their only supply source, they're definitely not going to... we don't need to cut them off anywhere else, really. We have a lot of steps to distribute, and here comes the AI's final turn. Now, it does something that I didn't expect, and it's quite successful. This was a great attack, unfortunately, and it destroys our unit, which is not that sad, but that means that we are not standing next to the victory X, so anywhere we move in is actually going to cause us to have to occupy a zone of control. So we cannot move in, attack, and move out. This was a bit of a blow, and I actually thought that I might not be able to capture this victory hex because of this forces allocation. And it's in a river band, it's in a very unfortunate position. But that's the only thing that I was afraid of. I mean, I'm pretty sure that, you know, this was the only other unit that could have attacked, but it didn't do anything. These units are dead. So yeah, let's see. We need to win here. This is not going to be easy. And yeah, and it's not, and it survived with one step, which is pretty unfortunate, which means that in order to get to it and finish it off, we need to remove this other unit first. These got stuck because of the zones of control, So let's assault this one. This is going to be a tougher challenge. And yeah, this goes decently, and fortunately the AI's unit retreats across the river. That's the only way it could retreat, only place it could retreat to. It also means that we are not going to be able to destroy it, because obviously we are not going to go after it across the river. And yeah, let's remove this final step here, which goes off without a problem. And of course, at this moment we have won. These units, not this one, but these two units can march in simply. So we have won the game. Let's remove as much of the enemy presence as possible. There is no threat, no risk, no nothing. So this is going to work out quite easily and quite well. Yep. We're also going to connect up the road in the west as well. And this tank is slowly crawling back to supply, and actually use it to gain experience. And yeah, unfortunately didn't gain the level, but whatever. And at this moment, as you can see, the roads are connected everywhere, basically. Maybe we could capture this hex as well. And our situation is just perfect. And so I decide to use this unit to move into the victory axe. Unfortunately, there was no way for us to destroy this final straggler unit. It wouldn't have gone back to supply, because we still have the supply source. So it would have actually lost, I think it would have lost the specialist step as well. If not, then one specialist step was not going to stop us, no matter what it did, what it would have done. So the next turn we could have, captured everything, I guess. That's it. I don't think it's a difficult scenario, as I've said. The only two aspects that you need, a few aspects that you need to pay attention to. None of them are very challenging. One is that the AI supply runs from here, and you should try to cut them off at bridges or at advantageous positions like river, bends, etc. The other thing is try to connect up your supply as well, so that you have more operational freedom in the southeast. And and another thing is try to win a war of attrition. It's not that difficult, so always take favorable trades, especially against the AI's armored units or Panzergrenadier units. You will be surprised how fast they melt away. And and what you're going to see is something similar to this one, that the AI's forces simply crumble. That's the best description of the whole thing. I don't think we lost many units. So our losses were absolutely totally acceptable. We're still in good shape, even to continue an assault or something like that. And we have destroyed a whole bunch of enemy steps and units. And yeah, we have captured all our objectives just in time. Actually, these two, sorry, this one ahead in time, only this one turn ahead in of time. So that's how you win Lower Dnieper. I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time as well. Bye bye.